Hello everyone, I'm Lavish. So today we will be seeing the problem Chef and the Insomnia. The problem appeared in the August Challenge 2015. The difficulty level of this problem is medium. To solve this problem, there are no such hard prerequisites. It's just that you should be aware of the factorization. So given a number n, how do we factorize? And you can have a familiarity with the two-pointer technique. Even if you don't know this technique, it's not an issue. We will cover this technique in this editorial. So let's move on to the problem. Okay, so let's go through the problem statement first. So Chef sometimes suffers from insomnia during sleepless nights. He often plays this game. He creates an array A of n integers and also decides one integer k. After that, he tries to count the number of non-empty contiguous subsequences of A such that there are no bad pairs of integers. Okay, so what are bad pairs of integers? A pair x comma y of integers is called bad if x is situated to the left of y. So we have x coming before y in our subsegment and x mod y is equals to k. So we have x mod y is equals to k. So if we have these two conditions, then the pair x comma y is called a bad pair. So we are asked to find the number of contiguous subsequences of A such that there are no bad pairs of integers in this subsequence. So before going through the example, let's first see the constraints that are given in this problem. So we are given that n and AI represents the number of the elements of the array. So both n and AI will range from 1 to 10 raised to the power 5, and we are also given that k would go from 0 to 10 raised to the power 5. So these are the constraints that we are given for the complete problem. Okay, so let's first go through an example to understand what's going on in the problem. So suppose our array A is, and let's say k is 2. So now for this problem, we want to find out the number of subarrays, contiguous subarrays, such that they are good. Okay, so let's first go through all the subarrays that we have possible. So let's say we are considering the arrays, subarrays that are starting from this value 5. So the smallest subarray is 5, and this is good, right? Because there is only one element, so there is no bad pair. Now we insert 1 in this subarray. When we insert 1, there is only one possible x comma y pair, which is 5 and 1, because 5 mod 1 is equals to 0, which is not equals to 2, of course. So this is a good pair. So this complete subarray is also good. Okay, let's insert 2 in this subarray. Now we have two new pairs which we need to consider, which are 5 comma 2 and 1 comma 2. Again, 5 mod 2 is 1, so this is a good pair. 1 mod 2 is again 1, so this is a good pair. So this subarray is also good. Now let's introduce 3 into this subarray. Now we have three new pairs that we need to consider, which are 5 comma 3, 1 comma 3, and 2 comma 3. Now we can see that 5 mod 3 is 2, which is k. So this is a bad pair. And similarly, this is also a bad pair. So now because we have a bad pair getting introduced, we cannot accept this 3 into the subarray. So we have seen that starting from 5, 5 is a good subarray, 5 comma 1 is a good subarray, and 5 comma 1 comma 3 is a good subarray. But we cannot introduce 3 because it is introducing some bad pairs. Okay, so now 5 comma 1 comma 2 comma 3 is not a good subarray. But what about this complete array? Can this be a good subarray? Well, no. Why? Because suppose I have this good subarray going on and introducing an element make this subarray bad. Why? Because there are some pair of the form dash comma star introduce having this element which is a bad pair. So now if I introduce other elements in this subarray, this new subarray will also be bad because this bad pair will remain in this subarray. So the observation is that once I have got a bad subarray, I cannot continue this process of introducing a new element because the resulting arrays will also be bad. Okay, so this means that starting from the first index, I have three good subarrays that I have seen till now. Okay, so now let's consider the subarrays starting from the second index. So now we will again start the same process, right? We will start with 1 as our subarray. It will be good. Then we will introduce 2 into our subarray. This will again be good. And when we will introduce 3, we will see that 2 comma 3 is a bad pair that is getting introduced. So it will be a bad subarray. And we can continue this process. However, can you see this one thing? So we have earlier seen that 5, 1, and 2 is a good subarray. So can we also say that 1 comma 2 is a good subarray? Well, yes, because if there are no bad pairs in this larger subarray, then for sure there cannot be a bad pair coming up from a subarray of this array. So what we want to say? We want to say that if an array A is good, by good I mean that there is no bad pair in this array, then it means that all the subarrays of A will also be good. So based on these two observations, let us now try to simulate our problem again. So we will start with 5 with the first index, my left index of the subarray. Now I will say that my subarray is ending at 5. Is this subarray good? Yes, this is good. So let me check a larger subarray. Is this subarray good? If yes, then I can keep increasing the size of my subarray. Now, when I will reach 3, I will see that this subarray L2R is not a good subarray, so I cannot consider this. So till now, I have seen 3 good subarrays, and now I cannot have more subarrays starting from the first index. So I need to move this pointer. Okay, so let's move this pointer to 2. Now, based on our second observation that all subarrays of a good subarray are good, we can say that this one is a good subarray as well as 1 comma 2 is a good subarray. So I can directly say that I can start looking for the right end of my subarray from this position only, right? Because I know that 1 and 1 comma 2 are good subarrays, so I just need to check whether 1 comma 2 comma 3 is a good subarray or not. If yes, then we will move the right pointer. Otherwise, we will say that these are the subarrays which are good and starting from index 2, and now I need to move this index. And this is what is known as the two-pointer technique, right? We can have a two-pointer technique where we are searching for a subarray if it is good or not. If it is good, then we will move our right pointer, increasing the size of our subarray. Otherwise, we will move our left pointer, and then we will again start checking the rightmost index R that I can go such that this new subarrays are good subarrays. Okay, so the only problem that remains is, can I efficiently check if the new subarray resulting is a good subarray or not? So if I have this 5, 1 subarray and I know that this is good, then I will introduce a new element in this subarray, let's say 2. Now I want to efficiently check if this new subarray is good or not. If yes, then I can proceed. And if no, then I can increase my L and continue our process, right? Okay, so let's say the new element that is getting introduced is Y. Now, if 5, 1 was a good subarray, then I only need to check the new pairs that are coming up because of the introduction of this 2, right? These are the only potential pairs that might be bad. and make our whole subarray bad. So let's consider the condition of a bad pair. So we have seen that a pair x comma y is called bad if x is occurring to the left of y and if x mod y is equals to k. Now we have seen that y is the rightmost element that we will consider. So this condition will be holding. So we need to take care of this condition. Okay, so if x modulus y is k, then it means that first of all the y should be greater than k, right? Because the value of x mod y will always be less than y. Now, if it is k, then it means that y is for sure greater than k. If y is not greater than k, if y is less than equals to k, then I can surely say that there will not be any x such that x mod y will lead to k. So the first condition is that y should be greater than k. Now once the y is greater than k, I have x mod y as k and I can write k as k mod y, right? Now using our modulus arithmetic, we can say that x minus k mod y is 0, right? So we have this equation that x minus k mod y is 0. Okay, so now we have this equation. Can we get some conditions on x, k, and y based out of this equation? So because x minus k modulus y is 0, it means that x minus k is a multiple of y. Or in other words, y is a factor of x minus k. Okay, so we have got this condition. What else? Well, there is a corner case here. Note that if x minus k is 0, then this equation will always hold irrespective of the value of y. So this case that x minus k is equals to 0 is a sort of corner case. How? So how can we handle this corner case? We can directly say that every number is a factor of 0. So while calculating the factors of 0, we will say that every number is a factor of 0. Otherwise, we have this normal definition of factors. Okay, so this is the condition. So now, given this condition, can we efficiently figure out if introducing a new element is causing a problem or not? So let's see. So suppose I had this good subarray 5, 1 and 2. Now I am introducing 3 and I want to check if this introduction will cause any problem or not. Now know that this is my y. So I want to check, is there some x already present in this subarray such that y is a factor of x minus k. So what we can do? We can actually store the list of the factors of x minus k. So if I have a list L storing the fact storing all the factors of x minus k, then I can quickly check if y is there in the list or not. If it is there in the list, then it's a bad situation. Otherwise, I can say that this can be easily introduced into our subarray. I will introduce the 3 into my subarray and I will again find the factors of y minus k and store it in the list because now it will be acting as a x in near future. So this is the algorithm that we will be having for this problem. So can we have some time complexity analysis for this problem? So we know that the number of factors of a number m are order m raised to the power 1 by 3, right? Now in our problem, we will be having these numbers from 1 to 10 raised to the power 5. So what we can do, we can pre-calculate all the factors of all the numbers from 1 to 10 raised to the power 5. And this is a pretty standard technique that I will be going through in the code also, and it will take 10 raised to the power 5 multiplied by log of 10 raised to the power 5 time. So this will be the time complexity of pre-calculating and storing all the factors. Now, once I have all the factors stored and given that number of factors of a number are order n raised to the power 1 by 3, what I will do, I will be having an array storing for each value I whether this factor is present in my current subarray or not. Note that this I will also go from 1 to 10 raised to the power 5 because the factors will for sure be smaller than the numbers. Now, if numbers are themselves going till 10 raised to the power 5, then our factors will for sure be less than 10 raised to the power 5. So I can have this array storing which factors are already present in this array. Now, when I will introduce y, I will first check if y is greater than k, and if yes, then I will check whether this y is present in this array, is marked 1 in this array or not. If not, then I can move my right pointer in right direction. And because I'm introducing this 3 into my subarray, I will have to factorize this y minus k and update my array. And if no, if I cannot introduce this 3, then what will I have to do? I will have to shift to my left pointer by 1. Now, in this subarray, I have the factors of 5 minus k stored. So I will have to remove those factors from this subarray. So this is the complete algorithm. There is a corner case that we have discussed. The corner case is when x minus k is 0. In that case, the number of factors are order n, and we cannot simply go through all the elements in order n and update them as 1 because it will make a time complexity order n square. So what we can do? We can simply say that in this array, I equals to 0 will denote this situation is present or not when x minus k is 0. Right? If I equals to 0 is marked as 1, saying that yeah, there is an x such that x minus k is 0, that will mean that I cannot introduce any new y because all the numbers from 1 to n are marked 1 in this case. So I can just handle the situation in order one time, and therefore I am done with the complete algorithm. So it might be looking little confusing at this point of time. Let's move to the code and let's understand how the code will look for this problem. Okay, so we have our two variables n and k, and we are taking these two variables from the input. Further, we are taking those n numbers from the input and storing them in the array. Now this vector not allowed stores what all are the factors that are not allowed to be introduced into my current subarray. What is this n? This is nothing but 10 raised to the power 5, and that's how we will be handling the factors. Now, this technique of having a left pointer and a right pointer is known as two pointer techniques. We are having L and R as these two pointers. The answer is equals to 0, denotes the total number of subarrays that are good. How to count them, we will see in the code. And this count is not a good variable, we can just remove it. So now what we are saying, we are now iterating over our array using this two pointer technique. The first condition says that if r is equals to n, that means we have reached the end of the subarray from the right end, then it means that I just need to shift my left pointer in the right direction. So I'm just calling the function shift left, and I will shift my left pointer and I will continue. That this is what I need to do. Now let's say the flag is 1. Flag denotes if I'm allowed to shift my right pointer or not. So how can we see this? The new element that we are introducing in our current subarray is array of R. So we have seen the conditions when this cannot be introduced. What are those conditions? The conditions are if array of R is greater than K and this array of R is present in my not allowed array, then I cannot shift my right pointer, and in that case, I will say that okay, my flag is 0, I cannot shift my right pointer. Similarly, we have seen that if 0 is present in our not allowed vector, then I cannot shift my right pointer. Why? Because this is the condition when x minus k equals to 0 is present in our subarray. So I cannot introduce a new element. Now, if this flag is 0, that means I cannot move my right pointer. So in that case, I will have to move my left pointer. Otherwise, I will be moving my right pointer. And that's all in our main function. Now we have to go through these left and right functions of how we can move these pointers. Okay, so let's first go through this shift left function. Also remember that we had discussed that we can calculate the factors of all the numbers from 1 to n in order n log n time. So this is the code for that calculation. What we are doing, this I denote the current factor and I am iterating from 1 to n. Now this j denote the multiple of the factor I. So it will start from the I itself, and each time I will just be increasing this j by I. So if I is 3, then this means that j will be first 3, then 6, then 9, and so on up to n. And what I'm saying? I'm saying that I is a factor of this j. So just push this in my vector. Okay, so this is the code of calculating the factors. This will take order n log n time. Okay, so now let's go through this left function. What we want to do in this function, we want to shift our left pointer by 1 in the right direction. So let's see how we can do this. First, we are updating our answer, denoting the number of subarrays that are now added. So how we have got this value, I will discuss it separately. After that, I'm saying that my current value is array L minus K, that X minus K that we were discussing. So let's go to the board again. So here we were saying that X mod Y is equals to K mod Y. And then we say it that X minus K mod Y is 0. We can equivalently say that K minus X mod Y is also 0, right? So we need to consider both X minus K and K minus X. And that's exactly what we are doing here. We are saying that if X minus K is positive, then good enough. We can get the factors. If it is negative, then just take K minus X so that we can get the factors. Now I'm iterating over the factors and I'm saying that we need to remove these factors from our not allowed vector because this element is now getting deleted. So I just remove the factors from the array, and now I'm increasing my L and I'm ending the function. So I've successfully shifted my left pointer. How? By first removing all the factors that I've included in the subarray and then shifting my left vector. Also, I'm updating my answer. How we are updating our answer? We will come to it. Let's first go through the shift right function. In this function, what I want to do, I want to shift my right pointer by 1. So I want to introduce a new element. So the element that I want to introduce is array R. Now, if I want to introduce this, then I must update my vector of not allowed. How do we need to update it? We need to iterate over all the factors of x minus k. In this case, this x is the new element that I'm adding. So I should iterate over all the factors of this value and I should add them in my not allowed vector. That in future, I cannot allow these numbers to come up as y. So I'm just introducing these factors in my array. How? By increasing the values. And I'm saying that now I have introduced this value in my subarray. I can increase my right pointer and I should return. So this is how I'm shifting my left pointers and right pointers. The only thing that remains is given L and R, how to update our answer. So let's see this on the board. Okay, so suppose this was our array and I was at this situation. This was my L and this was my R. And we were saying that now I want to try if this R, if this value can be introduced into my current subarray or not. And this is my current subarray up to this point. Now, suppose I figured out that I cannot introduce this value in my current subarray. So I am saying that I need to shift my left pointer. Now, before shifting a left pointer, I am saying that I should add some value to my answer corresponding to these subarrays that are good. And I want to find out the number of these good subarrays, right? This is what the problem is. So what are the number of good subarrays? They are simply R minus L. So in this example, this L is 1 if you are following zero-based indexing. This R is 4, and the number of good subarrays that we are now introducing is 3, which is R minus L. So these are the good subarrays that we need to account for in our answer before shifting the left pointer. And this is exactly what we are doing through this line, that we are shifting our left pointer by 1, and that's how we are increasing our answer. So that's all. Now we have got a final answer. We can just output it and our code is done. Let's quickly go and submit this code. So this is the submission page of the problem. I'm just copying my code and submitting it. Okay, meanwhile, let's go through the code once again and see the important points that we need to take care of. So in the two pointers technique, the usual error that occurs are when we are shifting these left pointers and right pointers. Sometimes we forget to do something, take account in something, and it usually results in the wrong answer. So how we can avoid from these errors? I usually prefer to make a separate function where I can handle all the things that will happen when I'm shifting my left pointer. And similarly, I usually prefer making a new function for shifting the right pointer. And in those functions, I can do all the manipulation that I need to do. And if by chance I forgot something, it's usually easy to debug if we have separate functions. So this is the main thing that we need to take care of. Another thing which is specific to this problem is that we are handling the corner case of 0 in a special manner. We are saying that if this not allowed of 0 is greater than 0, that means there is a value such that x minus k is 0, then I cannot increase my right pointer. I cannot introduce a new value. So this is a sort of separate corner condition that we are having in this code. So these were the things to take care of in this problem. Now let's go back to the submission page. Okay, so we have got the results of a submission and we have got an answer correct. So that was the editorial for the problem. To summarize, we have first figured out two main observations. First, that if I have encountered a bad subarray, then I cannot introduce new elements into that subarray because the resulting subarrays will also be bad. Second, we have seen that if an array is good, then all the subarrays of that array will also be good. Now, based on these two conditions, we were able to guess, we were able to figure out that we can sort of use two pointers L and R to find out the number of good subarrays. The only thing that was remaining was how to efficiently figure out if introducing a new element will make our current subarray bad. So, to figure that out efficiently, we saw that we can break our conditions such that y is a factor of x minus k. Now, because the number of factors are very small, they are order m raised to the power 1 by 3, we can store all the factors that are present in the subarray and we can easily check if introducing a new element will cause a problem or not. So that was how we were efficiently checking if I can introduce a new element or not. And that was the solution of this problem. Thank you very much. Have a good day.